All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Welcome to the X Zone, everyone. My name is Rob McConnell. We're coming to you from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Worldwide, toll-free, 800-610-7035. My email address is xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. On all social media sites, X Zone Radio TV, and our website, www.xzoneradiotv.com. Prominent evangelist and son of Billy Graham, Franklin Graham, is on record as saying the current Ebola outbreak is a judgment from God and a sign that the end of the world is at hand. It could be within days or weeks. Other prophecy pundits are now joining the chorus of fear-mongering as well. Joining me this hour to discuss this and other Bible prophecies is Dr. Don K. Preston, www.bibleprophecy.com. And Dr. Don, welcome back to the show, sir.
Thank you, Rob. It's always great to be with you.
These are crazy times, Don. Over the time you and I have had the pleasure of talking, just what's going on in the world today. If we put Ebola aside, we have virus D68. Mm-hmm. We have the crisis in Syria and Iran, Iraq. We have what's going on in the Ukraine. We still haven't found the Malaysian Airlines. 370 that went down in somewhere off the coast of Australia, and if you'll excuse the expression, the world's going to hell in a handbasket. So, what's going on, Don?
Well, basically what's going on is history has this really weird way of repeating itself. Obviously, different technology appears from generation to generation. Mm-hmm. But what's interesting to me, several years ago, I set out to write a book on Matthew chapter 24 and 25, known as the Olivet Discourse. And I began to look at all of the things that Jesus said. There will be wars and rumors of wars and pestilence and earthquakes and famines, mm-hmm. et cetera, et cetera. And he said men's hearts will be failing them for fear of what's coming on all the nations. Well, those are the very verses that Franklin Graham, by the way, has been appealing to over the last few days, last few weeks now, with the outbreak of Ebola coming to America, which, by the way, is right down here in Dallas, which is only 2 hours from me. I've got to fly out of the airport that Liberian fella flew into, so it's wow. Kind of disturbing, especially when you see the failure on the part of the medical authorities in Dallas and the way they did it, or more appropriately did not. But anyway, as I did my research for that book, it astounded me, Rob, what a tumultuous generation the first century really was. I chronicled no less from the time Jesus spoke the Olivet Discourse in approximately 33 AD until 70 AD, there were no less than 45, perhaps as many as 47 major military uprisings, like civil wars, invasions from the north, invasions from the east, whatever. Josephus says of the period of time, Josephus, of course, was a Jewish historian, that at the outbreak of the war between the Romans and the Jews in 66 AD, he was actually captured and through some really cool subterfuge, became the official historian of the Romans to chronicle their destruction of Judea and Jerusalem. But Josephus speaks of the period of time from 68 to 69, late into 69. And he spoke of all of these different insurrections, these civil wars, these wars and rumors of wars that broke out. And he said that the Roman Empire stood on the brink of annihilation as a result of that. Now, here's the Roman Empire that had brought what was known as the Pax Romana, the peace of Rome, to the known world. Brought stability and security and safety within certain confines and definitions. And yet here, in 1 year, they had 3 emperors, each rising to the ascendancy, and then either being killed or booted out and killing themselves or whatever. You have Galba, Otho, and Vitellius, all within just a few months, literally.
Don, stand by. You and I have to take our commercial break. We'll be back in 2 minutes. Exonation, Dr. Don K. Preston is our special guest this hour, www.bibleprophecy.com. This hour, we're talking about Bible prophecy, Ebola, and much more. If you'd like to send an email, xzone at xzoneradiotv.com, on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV, and our main website where you can listen to the Xzone Radio Show 724-365 is www.xzoneradiotv.com. My name is Rob McConnell. I'll be back on the other side of this 2-minute break. Don't go away.
Cutting out a little bit there.
Dr. Don K. Preston is our special guest this hour. www.bibleprophecy.com. We're discussing the people who are now predicting, especially, the son of Billy Graham, Franklin Graham, who's now on record saying that the current Ebola outbreak is a judgment from God and a sign that the end of the world is at hand. Frankly, I don't believe it to be so. I think that this is just another example how people like to take crisis and turn it into fear-mongering. Joining me now is Dr. Don K. Preston. And Don, why is it that anything that goes wrong of a major catastrophic type and the potential that Ebola does present to the rest of the world, picked up by some theologians, in this case Franklin Graham and others, who's saying that this is a judgment from God and the end of the world is at hand?
I think there are many psychological reasons for this, Rob. I really do. I don't want to question anyone's integrity. Now, on the reverse side of that, when you have men such as Tim LaHaye and Jerry Jenkins, who just came out. They sent out a mass mailer today. Interestingly enough, I did another radio program on this identical subject at 6 o'clock this morning. And literally 2 minutes before I went on air, I get this flyer from Jerry Jenkins' organization announcing that there are 20 reasons why this has to be the last generation, why the coming of the Lord is at hand. He mentioned the Ebola outbreak. He mentioned all of these things going on, the Syrian conflict, Hamas, ISIS, et cetera, et cetera. Well, what he conveniently failed to tell his readers was that in 1971-72, this same man, Tim LaHaye, was saying that all of the signs of the end were present then, that we were living at the in the closing stages of the last days. The coming of the Lord could happen at any moment. Here we are over 40 years later, and now he's pulling the same thing. Now, surely a man as intelligent as Tim LaHaye knows how wrong he was in the 1970s. I mean, after all, if I go around the world preaching countless sermons telling people it's going to happen in this generation, it's going to be in just a few years, and it doesn't happen, and 40 years later I'm telling the same identical message, then I know there's something wrong with my message. But there are countless thousands, perhaps millions of good, sincere believers who trust people like this, who unfortunately do not think for themselves. I saw a study just recently, Rob, very troublesome, that chronicled the not only the lack but the inability of the average person to think critically. And if that's not true, I don't know what is. William Lane Craig, who is a great apologist for the Christian faith, has debated many atheists. He's got a major debate coming up next year with an atheist. But Dr. William Lane Craig is one of these brilliant analytical type of people. And he very often comments on one of the problems that Christian apologists have, one of the problems that any apologist has, is getting people to think analytically. So that's one of the problems that we have. We have people out there, and they hear people on the radio, they hear them watch them on TV. Oh, it's the end, it's the end, and they hear them quote a verse of Scripture. They don't know if they're taking that verse in context. They've never taken the time to read the Bible in context. They've never spent any real time studying the Bible. So, hey, this guy's a preacher. He must be right. Well, secondly, I believe that we are all just a little bit egocentric. We want it all to be about us and our time. It couldn't have been for other people in another land at another time, because that means, well, what about me?
Yeah.
And we want it to be about me, us, and I. And it raises a serious question. What right do we have, just from a purely hermeneutical, that is, interpretive perspective, what right do we have to take an epistle that specifically says to the church of God, which is at Thessalonica, that we know was written 2,000 years ago, and what right do we have to take that letter and say, well, I know it says to the Thessalonians, but that really means me?
Don, are you there? We just lost you, Don. Don, are you there?
Since it's, I am here.
Okay.
Do we have a problem?
Yeah, you cut out on us for a few seconds there, but you're back.
Yeah, you had cut out on me a moment ago, so I really honestly don't know what the situation is. I'll try to set a little bit stiller, little bit, and not move around.
Okay.
But the question I was posing was that from a purely interpretive perspective, what right do we have to read somebody else's mail and say that that mail addressed to them specifically and personally did not apply to them, but it has to apply to me today? And that doesn't mean that we cannot learn and that we do not learn and that we cannot make some application. But the specific application of time statements, the specific application of things that were said to be happening in their world, on their streets, in their homes, in their cities, we have no right to say, oh, it didn't mean them anyway. Wasn't really to them.
So I don't want this era, the next weeks, the next couple of days, the next couple of years to be the end of the world. I quite enjoy living. So when I hear this kind of rhetoric from supposedly men of God who, unfortunately, a lot of the people of these congregations have given up total control to their pastors, to their ministers, believing that they are the end-all to be-all, and that they know what they're talking about. They hear it. They believe it.
Yes, they do. Well, I think we see a prime example of this with John Hagee, the very prominent evangelist out of San Antonio, Texas. Now, he's made a major blunder. He's made a lot of blunders in his ministry, and he's always been able to survive, and I predict that he will survive this. But I'm hoping and I'm praying that his prediction, he came out with all of this rhetoric about the 4 blood moons. Now, what we're seeing is the ramping up and the amping up of all this prophetic speculation. But John Hagee is now on record. He has delimited the time frame for things that absolutely must happen, because he's given us the specific time frames for the appearance of the 4 blood moons. One of them has already taken place. The next one is this month. I believe it's October the 15th. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Anyway, it's this month, and then the other 2 have to occur no later than September of 2015. And according to John Hagee, the world has got to come to an end. Everything's got to come crashing down by September of 2015. Well, no matter how you slice it or dice it, if you have predicted that major world-changing events, the coming of the Lord, the rapture, Armageddon. He's on record now saying the battle of Gog and Magog has got to take place by September of 2015. I mean, this is on record. He cannot deny this. Now, this is the way I think, Rob. I obviously don't think like most people. But if I'm sitting in John Hagee's church and I've heard him give sermon after sermon after sermon saying September 2015 has got to see the Battle of Gog and Magog, and after all, you read Ezekiel 38 and 39 and the Battle of Gog and Magog, and you got so many people killed that it takes 6 months of burial to get them all buried, and you got weapons, stacked up 10 feet high and blah, blah, blah. Okay. September 2015 is the deadline, folks. And if it doesn't happen, and I'm sitting there hearing this over and over and over, 2 of the blood moons have already passed, given the 15th of this month.
No, I'm sorry, it's the 8th of this month, my friend. I was looking at the wrong calendar.
I knew it was getting really, really close.
Yeah,
well, guess what? That's tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
So half of the blood moons will be passed by tomorrow evening or by tomorrow night, let's say, Friday morning. And guess what? The Lord will not have come. The Battle of Armageddon will not have begun. The Battle of Gog and Magog has not begun. So we're halfway through this prophetic speculation. Mm-hmm. And I have to tell you, Rob, and this is what's so exciting about my ministry. Over the last couple of weeks, I've just heard from any number of individuals who have been dispensationalists, who've been wrapped up in that world of prophetic speculation, but they have begun to see the weaknesses. They've begun to say, wait a minute. They said it then.
Don, are you there?
Camping went through all of his shenanigans. I am here. I don't know what's going on, Rob. Am I there?
You're here, but you're really spiking. Maybe you're just a bit too close to your Skype microphone because you're just blaring in.
Well, I will move my microphone up just a little bit. Perhaps that will help.
Okay.
So anyway, here we are. None of this is going to happen, and I've been hearing from an increasing number of people who are being disillusioned, disenchanted, and they're looking for answers. And when they read the material that I and countless others have written, they hear the lessons that we present. I'll be in Memphis, Tennessee, Lord willing, if my wife's health permits. I'll be in Memphis, Tennessee this upcoming Friday and Saturday to speak at a seminar entitled "It's About Time." All of these men like Franklin Graham are saying, it's time. Well, in the first century, the apostles said, it's time. So who's right? I'm going to put my trust in the biblical writers and in understanding the ancient literature, understanding the Hebraic thought, not imposing a modern Western worldview on an ancient Hebraic book that we call the Bible. And I believe in the Bible more firmly now than I ever have. I feel more confident in being able to defend its inspiration than I ever have in my life. But in order to get to that point, I had to give up any speculation about a future, quote, end of the world. It just doesn't work.
All right, Don, stand by. We've got to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. Exo Nation, Dr. Don K. Preston is our guest this hour. His website is www.bibleprophecy.com. Tell me, Exo Nation, what do you think about the biblical prophecies? Does the Bible really have it on cue? Does the Bible accurately depict present-day events? Does the Bible have the ability to foretell the future? Or is the Bible wrong? I want to hear your comments. Xzone at xzoneradiotv.com. That's Xzone at xzoneradiotv.com. Dr. Don K. Preston and I will be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away.
This is Elizabeth Joyce with Stargazing, week of October 6th through the 12th, 2014, for the X Zone. At Yom Kippur, we begin the fall eclipse season, as well as Mercury retrograde and a Uranus-Sun opposition. This face-off indicates a time of trying to change the status quo while simultaneously trying to keep everything in balance, along with keeping your monthly bills paid. Whatever Uranus is involved in, you usually lose something in order to gain something of more value. These eclipses will have far-reaching consequences. This energy promises to be a major positive influence on national and global power struggles. Mercury is now retrograde through October 25th. This presents many opposites as Aquarius, the moon, wants to communicate and share with Saturn in Scorpio. And Saturn always wants to hole up and seeks privacy. Rest up this week because the intensity is going to pick up as we move into the red moon lunar eclipse on Wednesday. On Tuesday, the sun is opposite Uranus, and that means anything can happen. Be careful where you step your feet, when you're behind the wheel of a car, or when you write or say something to your social media. On a personal level, Wednesday's eclipse is a watermark and signifies the end of a cycle, be it 7 years, 14 years, or 28 years. This is a week of completions rather than initiations, freedom, release, and changes in the air. On October 8th, the full moon is a total lunar eclipse creating a red moon and can be seen in the Pacific and Western North America. It occurs in Libra, which asks you to look deep within your emotions and rebalance your independent needs with your sharing needs in your relationships. Consider where you are out of balance in terms of partnerships and take care of your own needs. Remember that Mercury is retrograde until the 25th, so do not carve your decisions in stone. Adaptability is more important than knowing exactly how things in your life will work out. Venus is opposing Uranus now. This can have a we are friends or lovers tone to it. Uranus wants freedom and Venus wants partnership. This can be exciting or disruptive. Expect the unexpected. Uranus has a lot of fun, but planning is not its strong suit. In the next 2 weeks, the time between eclipses brings up hidden emotions. Make time for your emotional needs. On Friday, communication planet Mercury slips back into Libra for the remainder of the retrograde cycle. You can meet a lot of new people in the next coming week, but remember, all of them probably are just passing through. Practice communicating in a diplomatic way. People offer to help you, and they're helping themselves just as much. Be the catalyst for goodwill and get problems solved at the same time. People will find you, and they may try to shake you down for help or advice or favors. Some of these requests will be fun, and it's always flattering to be asked.
And for a private one-on-one consultation with Elizabeth Joyce, visit her website at www.new-visions.com. That's www.new-visions.com. Dr. Don K. Preston is my special guest. We're talking about Bible prophecies this hour. There are those theologians who believe that the current Ebola outbreak is a sign from God that the end of the world is at hand. And Dr. Don, once again, great having you on the show, and I still cannot understand the mentality of these members of the clergy who are so bound and determined that the world is going to come to an end, and they keep on giving dates, they give time frames, and they're always wrong. Don, are you there? Well, apparently we lost Dr. Don K. Preston. I don't know what happened to him. So let me just recap. So far, we have found out that, the prominent evangelist and son of Billy Graham, Franklin Graham, is on record as saying that the current Ebola outbreak is a judgment from God and that a sign that the end of the world is at hand. It could be within days or weeks. Other prophecy pundits are joining the chorus of fear-mongering as well. So tell me, Exo Nation, what do you think? Is this really the end of the world? Or is this just another, well, you know what, we may have got it right, we may have got it wrong, but in any case, let's see what we can do to scare the heck out of people and get the people getting back into the churches, into the pews. Is this what it's about? Or is it a sign? I have no idea, and I was hoping Dr. Don K. Preston could further help us, but apparently the good Dr. Don K. Preston's internet failed, so we're going to go to Space Patrol. Stand by, sit back, and enjoy.
Good Hot Wellston presents Space Patrol! High adventure in the wild, vast reaches of space. Missions of daring in the name of interplanetary justice. Travel into the future with Buzz Corey, Commander-in-Chief of the Space Patrol! In today's transcribed adventure, Buzz and Happy are climbing the face of a steep cliff on the planet Saturn in pursuit of two criminals. At one side of them, a great waterfall thunders down 1,000 feet to the valley below.
Colgar must have reached the top, Commander. I don't see him. They went up the cliff like a couple of mountain goats, and with hardly any footholds. Look out, Happy, there's a rock falling. What? Wow, smoking rockets, that was close. There are more coming. Press close to the cliff. Hey, it looks like the whole top of the mountain is coming down on us. Colgar's work. He's started a landslide. It's right on top of us. What are we going to do?
We'll be back in just a moment with today's Space Patrol story, The Giant Bubble. You can't buy it anywhere, gang. Today is positively the last time we can make this sensational offer. I'm speaking of the Space Patrol Spaceophone. The magic phone you can carry anywhere. The magic phone from mysterious outer space. The magic phone created in the secret laboratories of the Space Patrol. The Space Patrol Spaceophone. Imagine, you can talk on it to someone a straight 50 feet away. Complete with 2 blue and yellow plastic spaceophones. Complete with 50 feet of communication cord. Complete with secret briefing sheet. But remember now, today is absolutely the last time we can make this unusual offer. The Space Patrol Spaceophone. To get the whole set, here's what you do. Buy a box of Instant Ralston. Then, with your name and address, send 25 cents in coin and an Instant Ralston box top to Space Patrol, Box 686, St. Louis, Missouri. This offer good only in continental U.S. and may be withdrawn at any time. That's an Instant Ralston box top and 25 cents in coin to Space Patrol, Box 686, St. Louis, Missouri. In Commander Corey's central office at Space Patrol headquarters on Terra, Cadet Happy is puzzling over some reports from the security section as Buzz enters.
Can't make head or tails of this thing.
Happy, has Dr. Berman been in?
Huh? Oh, beg your pardon, sir. What'd you say?
Have you seen Dr. Berman? He was to meet me here.
Oh, no, sir. He hasn't been in. Did the appropriation go through?
Yes, Happy. I just got the Secretary General's approval. That ought to make Dr. Berman just about the happiest man in the solar system.
Yes, sir.
Which, judging by your expression, is more than can be said for you. What's the trouble, huh?
Well, Major Robertson asked me if I'd check over these reports of intercepted messages, and I haven't been able to make much headway.
Those unidentified spaceophone signals from Saturn.
Uh-huh. All I can figure out is that the broadcasts seem to follow a time pattern, and they're in perfectly plain English, but, well, they just don't make sense.
I know.
One word keeps popping up in several of the messages. That is, if it is a word, Gleck. Now, what in the universe is Gleck?
And no one else around here seems to know either.
Well, all I can gather is that whoever is sending the messages doesn't like Gleck. And one message says, suggest getting rid of Gleck at source.
Well, forget about it. Turn the folder back to Robbie.
Yes, sir.
Commander Corey? Oh, yes, Dr. Berman. Come in. Thank you. Happy, this is Dr. Berman, the inventor of a new process of constructing atmosphere shells.
Oh, I've heard about it. Yeah, it's something to do with blowing a big bubble out in space, isn't it?
That's right, young man. A bubble of transparent electroplast. Dr. Berman's method might entirely do away with the old cumbersome method of constructing atmosphere shells section by section and sealing them together.
With electroplast, sir?
Yes, Cadet. With a strong plastic developed in a plant on Venus, which has the peculiar property of remaining in liquid state when powerful electromagnetic waves of a certain frequency are penetrating it.
Oh, I get it. You blow a bubble with it out in the vacuum of space, and while the stuff is soft.
Exactly. When the magnetic waves are cut off due to the cold, the electroplast hardens almost immediately.
Hey, it's almost like freezing a soap bubble.
Nice comparison, Cadet. However, we've never quite been able to freeze a soap bubble. To my great regret, they always break. Well, maybe this will cheer you up, Doctor. The Secretary General has approved the appropriation as requested. Splendid. As I understand it, you're authorized to go ahead and construct a shell for the Venus satellite.
The Venus satellite?
Yes, Happy. The satellite is only 1 mile in diameter. It'll be completely enclosed by an electroplastic shell.
Hey, that's great, but Oh, wait a minute. You blew up the shell out in space, right?
That's right. Far enough away from a planet so the electroplast will form a perfect sphere.
Uh-huh. But how do you get the satellite inside the sphere?
We cut the shell in half. Then several powerful spaceships move the two halves to the satellite, and the two parts are sealed.
Then we install a space lock, and we've got a small, low-gravity world.
Commander, I hate to rush off, but I'm very anxious to get back to Venus and get the project underway.
Of course, Doctor. If there's anything I can do to help, just let me know.
Thank you. My chief problem at first is to get several thousand cubic feet of Gleck out into space.
Several thousand cubic feet of what?
Gleck. Oh, you wouldn't know. Gleck is a technical slang for electroplast.
I see. Well, where did the term come from?
Oh, I don't know. You know how it is with slang. Probably some technician got tired of saying electroplast and invented the word Gleck. The term caught on. Well, goodbye, gentlemen.
Goodbye, Doctor.
Hey, Commander, hadn't we better tell him about the messages?
No, Happy, not yet.
Yeah, but one of those messages said, get rid of Gleck at the source.
I know. And the source is Venus.
Then someone on Saturn wants to wreck the doctor's project.
I'll have Robbie assign a full monitoring crew to the Saturn frequencies. We're going to blast off for Venus and keep an eye on the plant itself.
It's dark enough now, Drovic. Let's get over to the tunnel. Okay. You better watch your step with that explosive. It won't take much of a jar to set it off. How much time have we? Exactly 10 minutes before the tunnel car comes out of the underground plant. But I can assure you we're going to be away from the plant area when the cargo of electroplast goes up.
Cargo, I'm surprised there aren't any guards patrolling the grounds.
Why should there be? Now, who would want to wreck Dr. Berman's project?
You shouldn't have sold out to him. With your half interest in the electroplast process, he could have made millions of credit.
I got out because I thought he was on the wrong track. He wanted me to think that, so I would sell out.
Sure, Colby.
But
sure.
I'll fix him.
Here are the tracks. We just put the explosive on the rails?
Wait. I got a better idea. See that flat car off on the siding? Put the explosive on that and push it into the tunnel.
Yeah, great idea. With the tunnel blown up, Berman can't get any electroplast out of the plant for weeks. It's going to be a job shoving that heavy car, though, so we better get started.
Hold it, Hap. This is where the foreman saw the men.
There they go, sir. Over that small ridge.
That's where the tunnel comes out, the lower levels of the plant.
Tunnel?
Yes. The tracks lead to the spaceport where the electroplast is pumped aboard cargo ships.
Well, what would they be doing out there this time of night?
Well, let's find out. The odd foreman thought they were on some special detail.
Well, it seems to me if they were on legitimate business, they'd carry a thermo light.
Keep yours off until I tell you to turn it on.
Yes.
All right. Now, shove the car. It's as heavy as if it were on Jupiter. Once we get it moving, it won't be so bad. How far are we going to push it? Just inside the tunnel. The track has a downhill grade. The car will coast.
All right, Happy, turn on your light. Yes, sir.
Skolga, somebody's seen us. Keep shoving only a few more feet, and it will be on the main track.
Hold it a minute. What are you men doing?
Why don't you mind your own business?
Get that flat car off the main track.
Here comes the tunnel car. Let's go through it.
No, you don't. Come back here.
Let him go, Happy. We've got to shove this car back on the siding quickly.
Yes, sir.
Hate to let him get away, but we've got to clear the tracks.
Tunnel car's coming pretty fast,
A
sir.
couple more feet.
That's clear, sir.
The switch. I've got to throw the switch, or the tunnel car will be derailed right into us. Hold your light here.
Yes, sir. Wow, that was close.
Yeah, but we made it.
Just barely.
Look what was on this flat car.
A can of explosives.
Come on, Happy. We'll go to the main gate and give some orders. Nobody's going to leave the plant.
Tunnel car got through. Cleared the tracks.
I got to look at them as we ran out. They're space patrol.
Space patrol? They probably got the plant surrounded. How are we going to get out?
Wait a minute. Look up ahead there. There is Berman.
How can you tell?
By his walk. There. Now I'm sure of it. He just passed the window in the blockhouse.
Let's get away from here before he
I
recognizes
got
us.
a better idea. Berman will get us out of here, even past the space patrol.
How?
He's going into the blockhouse. Let's follow him and see if he's alone.
What's in the blockhouse?
Test equipment for the Gleck experiments. That's where I got the explosive. Come on. But quietly, take it easy. on this all, Drowick.
Gate captain, please.
Quiet. Berman is in the lab.
Yes, thank you. Captain, this is Dr. Berman. Would you locate Commander Corey for me? I don't know where he is, but... Oh, he is? Put him on, please.
He's talking on the intercom.
Commander? Dr. Berman, What? The tunnel? Good heavens. Thank you, Commander. That would have set the project back for weeks. Yes, I do have an idea who's behind this. Something happened earlier today that aroused my suspicion.
We better rush him. I'll wait.
Yes, Commander, but I'm not positive. I don't...
All right, Exonation, we're going to have to take our commercial break here. We have been in contact with Dr. Don K. Preston. There was a communication problem between our studios and his location. Skype still has a few bugs in it. So we're going to be getting Dr. Don K. Preston back on in the very near future. When I come back from this commercial break, we're going to be going right back to the Giant Bee in this edition of Space Patrol. If you'd like to send us an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com. Our website, where you can listen to the show 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days of the year, is www.xzoneradiotv.com. I'm Rob McConnell. I'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.
Look, behind the falls.
What?
Behind the falls, there's an opening there.
You're right. And there's a path behind the falls.
Watch your foothold. These rocks are wet and slippery.
Well, I guess that landslide took care of them.
Yeah, but how are we going to get down to our ship?
It's a long way, but it's safer. Come on, let's get going. We made it. The ship sure looks good. Yeah. Get in and let's blast off.
What's your hurry?
Corey!
That's right, and don't try anything, either of you.
The landslide. I saw it crash right on top of the path.
Uh-huh. So did we, from behind the waterfall.
There's a nice, easy path the other side of the falls.
Yeah, a straight and narrow path. Something you ought to try sometime. Ha!
An exciting preview of next week's thrilling Space Patrol adventure in just a moment. Right now, gang, this is Space Patroller Dick Tufeld.
And Commander Corey.
We're here to tell you that today is the last time we can offer you the Space Patrol Spaceophone.
You get a whole set, gang, complete with 2 spacephones.
50 feet of communication cords.
And secret briefing sheets.
So don't wait. Send for it today.
Just like talking on the telephone.
It's the magic phone you can carry anywhere.
Looks exactly like the spacephones my space patrollers use on Terra.
Talk on it to someone a straight 50 feet away.
Use it indoors or outdoors.
But remember, today is the last time we can make this offer.
So don't wait. Send for your Space Patrol spaceophone set today.
Now remember, you get 2 blue and yellow plastic spacephones.
One for you and one for the person you're talking to.
And a secret Space Patrol briefing sheet. Now to get the whole set, do this. Buy a box of Instant Ralston. Then with your name and address, send 25 cents and an Instant Ralston box top to Space Patrol, Box 686, St. Louis, Missouri. That's Space Patrol, Box 686, St. Louis, Missouri. And now, a preview of next week's exciting Space Patrol story. Buzz and Happy are stranded on the Martian desert, 100 miles from the nearest city. They've just come to an expanse of tiny green plants carpeting the desert for miles.
Something's wrong with my throat, Commander. It feels tight. It's hard to breathe.
Mine's the same way, Happy.
It couldn't be the dust coming up from the ground, sir.
No, it comes from the plants. Every time we take a step, the plants shoot out spores, poisoning the atmosphere.
It's getting worse.
What's still worse, these are poisonous lichens.
Poison? What are we going to do, sir? We can't go back.
No. If we go on, these plant spores will paralyze our breathing muscles. We'll suffocate.
Be sure to be with us next Saturday for the exciting story, The Electronic Burglar, when wheat checks, rice checks, and good hot Ralston again bring you Space Patrol! And now, a word from Commander Buzz Corey.
You know, gang, one of the greatest health steps in history was the organization of the National Blood Program of the American Red Cross. A program started in the belief that Americans would give blood to help their neighbors in peace, just as they did for fighting men in war. How would you like to help these people get more blood donations?
Well, there we go, X Zone Nation. Space Patrol for this edition of the X Zone. Once again, Dr. Don K. Preston was our guest until halfway through when there was a problem with Skype. We lost the good doctor, but we have been in contact with him, and he will be coming back to share another hour with us talking about Bible prophecies. I'll be back on the other side of this commercial break with the news at 6.5 minutes past the top of the hour as we continue here in the X Zone from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I'm Rob McConnell. We'll be back on the other side of this break. Don't go away.